Joined now by our old buddy Cam Huffman, sports editor from the Beckley Registered Herald. And Cam's got a big game coming up this weekend, part organizer of the Brown Classic going on this weekend down in the Beckley area. Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Travis, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. Doing good. We talked with Bob Bolin earlier this week on the weeknight show about this game, and but if you would, for folks that missed that interview, kind of how did the idea for this, at least using the Mountaineer players to be, how did this all sprout?
Well, I think the main way it came about was Bob was just a little bit bored and not working at Mountain State anymore. I think Bob's always been known as a big time recruiter. And that's what he told me is since he couldn't recruit, he decided to recruit kids to come play in this game. And he's definitely got a great lineup. And as you mentioned, including the 4 WVU signees that have already signed to come to Morgantown next year.
Kim, the Scott Brown Memorial Classic is not new, correct?
Right.
It's not. It's actually been going on for 24 years. Scott Brown and Bob Bolin actually started the game together 24 years ago. And then Scott ended up passing away, and the game was named in his honor since then. But it's been going on for a long time, but it usually pits kind of the single A and double A All-Stars against the triple A All-Stars. But Bob kind of came up with this new format this year to kind of get some new life into it, so to speak, and the response has been great so far.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the 4 kids that have already signed with West Virginia, Nathan, Adrian, Brandon Watkins, Elijah Macon, and Devin Williams, are on one team and are a big part of the attraction, but Dante Grantham, who we talked about tonight and many other nights, also is going to be on that team. And it sounds like there are a ton of other players of high note in this game. Tell us a little bit about some of the others who are going to be playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob kind of tapped into some of the resources. There's a lot of great coaches in West Virginia and a lot of great coaches from southern West Virginia. So he kind of tapped into some of his resources. Rob Fulford, the head coach at Huntington Prep, obviously one of the best teams in the country and has the top player in the country who won't be there, unfortunately. But a number of his other players will be there. And looking at through the list, here, Trevon Landry from Huntington Prep, he'll be playing in there. And then there's also some kids from Hargrave Military. Jason Slay, who's a former Woodrow Wilson player, is an assistant coach there. So he's sending some kids over, some D1 prospects, including one, Dante Clark, who is signed with Virginia Tech. And then there is Shane Maynard, who is a former Woodrow Wilson player as well. He's at NASA Nutton Military Academy, and he's sending a couple players. Some are considering some major offers. One already committed to VMI. So there's commitments from Baylor on the list, commitments from Temple, a little bit of everything. So it's a great lineup.
So in looking at the Huntington Prep kids, you've got a kid that, like I said, Trevon Landry, who's headed to Tennessee, another Moses Kingsley, 6'9" kid going to Arkansas, and Dominic Woodson, another 6'9" center. He's going to Baylor. So it's not exactly, I mean, not to disparage anybody in the West Virginia Conference, but you're talking high majors. So while West Virginia University is going to have some recruits on one team, it's not exactly stacked for them to win this.
No, not at all, and I think that's part of the intrigue of the tournament is to see how these guys that are coming to Morgantown match up against some of the guys that'll be playing, as you mentioned, some of them in the Big 12. So it'll be really interesting to see how those guys match up. And I think another highlight of the tournament as well is there's also some local guys, Andrew Johnson from Beckley, Derek Layford from Greenbrier East. A couple of those guys are on the same team. Chase Connor from Shady Spring, who I know. There's a lot of rumors that he may end up walking on at West Virginia. He had a scholarship offer from Radford, but is kind of trying to decide what his future is going to be. He's on that team as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for those guys, too, from the area to see how they match up with some of the top talent in the country.
You mentioned that the interest is great. Do you have any ticket sale numbers?
I don't. Bob has been dealing with most of that, and he's actually in Atlanta at the Final Four this week. So I talked to him earlier, and he hadn't he didn't have a number pinned down, but he said they had been selling really, really well so far. So he's hopeful. He said all along he's hopeful it'll sell out before it even starts, and I think that might be a possibility.
Okay, and will this be the permanent format, or you're just going to kind of see how this goes, and then maybe
we're going to see how it goes. Obviously, as I said, Bob's a big part of it, so his future kind of depends on what the future of the tournament is. You know, he has a lot of connections around the country that he's able to bring some of these kids in, and I think he's kind of mulling his options for what he's going to do in the future as well. So we'll have to see what happens with him and see how this goes the first year.
Yeah, where can people get tickets if they so desire? Do you know?
They can get it at the Convention Center box office or online at BeckleyConventionCenter.com, or they can call the Convention Center. It's 1-888-695-0888.
Sounds good. Well, you've got that to look forward to on Saturday, the people of Beckley and, you know, anybody throughout the area that is interested. But you also have another event you're going to be attending this week that a lot of people would be fairly envious of you, but you worked for quite a while before moving back home to West Virginia in Aiken, South Carolina, which is right across the border from Augusta, Georgia. And you're going back to do some coverage on the Masters, right?
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I've been joking with Bob for a while about that too. When he told me the dates of this, he's going to cut my trip a little short so I can come back and take care of things at the Scott Brown Classic. But still looking forward to going down to Augusta for a few days. I was very lucky to get the opportunity again. It was obviously one of the highlights of my year when I was in Aiken every year, and actually through the Greenbrier Classic is kind of the angle that I'm taking to go down. I'm going to try to cover Ted Potter Jr. a little bit. The winner of the Greenbrier Classic obviously got a spot in the Masters by winning that tournament. So it'll be his first Masters. So I'm going to kind of cover that angle and follow him a little bit and see how he does. And I'm definitely looking forward to making the trip.
Yeah, obviously this is the big one. I mean, the Super Bowl of golf. You know, what has been your experience, or you know what makes this golf tournament different from others you've covered?
You know, it's just
just the crowds
than any sporting event that you find anywhere. And I think the number one thing about it is just the tradition, because you know every other major sporting event, the Final Four, the Super Bowl, all those things, they move to a different spot every year, but the Masters is always in the same place. You know, same thing with golf tournaments, the U.S. Open, all those places, those tournaments are in a different place every year, but this is in the same place. And the way the tickets work, it's a lot of the same people that have been going for years and years and years, and it's just fun to kind of walk around and hear some of the conversations of memories people have of different great moments in Masters history, and the traditions they have of how many years they've been coming and who they bring with them and where they stay and those kind of things. And I think that kind of makes it special, as well as those people, because they've been coming for so long, just understand how big of a deal it is, and they understand how you're supposed to act when you're there. There's not a lot of warnings or signs up that tell you what you're supposed to do and don't boo and those kind of things, but everybody just knows that, and it's such a respectful crowd, and it can get loud too. There's nothing like the Sunday roars at Augusta.
Now, you live in Lewisburg, and I don't want you to get Jim Justice mad, but is Augusta National better than any course you've ever seen? Does it live up to the reputation just for its beauty?
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those places that TV just doesn't do it justice. And it's beautiful on TV, but when you walk through the gates and really see it for the first time, it's an incredible experience. If you're the least bit of golf fan, it's one of those places that you have to go at some point, because it really is amazing. Not a blade of grass out of place. But I will say, since you said not to make Jim Justice mad, the Greenbrier Classic, I've covered a number of other golf tournaments as well in Hilton Head and in a few other places, Charlotte. And as far as non-major events, there's nothing that compares to the Greenbrier Classic either. They really run that first class.
Visiting with Cam Huffman, sports editor from the Beckley Registered Herald. Speaking of the Greenbrier Classic, at this point last year we were knee deep in buzz because of the announcements of Tiger Woods' inclusion, and also Lefty was gonna play last summer. Of course, neither those two made the cut. Haven't heard a whole lot of buzz this year. Have you heard anything on that front, Cam, in terms of, I'm sure Tiger would have been committed by now, but is it going to be still a star-studded field?
I think it will. I actually talked last week to Monty Ortel, who was just hired as the new director there, and he was saying that those player commitments really start to pick up after the Masters, because everybody's kind of focused on that first, and then once that's out of the way, they start to look forward a lot more to the rest of their schedule. So he said he really expects that to pick up at that point. And I asked him about names, and I think Tiger's still on the table. Not for sure if he's coming or not, but Phil is probably likely. I think he has developed a pretty good relationship with Jim Justice, so I would be surprised if he's not here.
Good.
And then he said his focus from there is on some of the young, up-and-coming stars that haven't been there yet. He said that's kind of his focus. He looks at the list, who's been there and who's hot that hasn't been there. So maybe Bubba Watson, some of those guys might be kind of their targets to bring some fresh faces in that still excite some people.
Jim Justice has done a great job with that tournament, as well as 1,000 other things. But, he's not the only one. And we know, as you just mentioned, they've got a new director. Tim McNeely, who's been the director since the Greenbrier Classic inception a few years ago, has gone. He's now the AD at Fairmont State, new director in. Is that going to have a big effect on this tournament, do you think?
I don't think it will. When I talked to both Tim and to Jim and to Monty, the new director, last week, they all said the same thing, that it's been so successful so far that they really feel like they have a good plan in place, that no matter who's running it, it's not like they said, it's not like rebuilding the wheel. They know what they're doing. They know how to make it successful. So I don't think it'll have a big impact at all. It's been a great tournament so far, and I expect nothing less this year.
The golfers have been big name, but the musical acts that they bring in sometimes have been even bigger. Have they sort of hinted as who they're bringing in terms of the music?
Well, they have Kenny Chesney confirmed. He's the one that they're definitely bringing in, and they're trying for another one. And he's thrown a few names out there, but sworn me to secrecy, so I won't get in trouble with him and lose my credentials there. But
no.
What they're kind of looking at it in the past is they've had three major concerts, and this year they feel like Kenny Chesney is at a level above anybody they've ever had. He's huge in his concert, so they're not going to try for three this year. They're going to try for two. But they want that second one to also be on that upper echelon like Kenny Chesney. So they're trying for two, really Grand Slam type concerts. So they're still in talks with a few people, but I would expect an announcement fairly soon.
Yeah, Kenny Chesney can fill football stadiums by himself. That's a big get in itself.
I've heard names too, and if they get either one of the two names that I've heard, then it will be a Grand Slam. So,
do the Lewisburg people appreciate the traffic that this brings? What's their thought?
Let me tell you, this could be a all new high here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This could be off the chart.
Yeah, the Kenny Chesney thing, that could be completely different, because they've had huge crowds at those concerts in the past. But like you said, Kenny Chesney is just the elite of the elite, and so I'm sure he's going to bring in a huge crowd. But honestly, since the first year, I remember the first year I got stuck on a bus heading from the Greenbrier back over to the State Fair where the concerts are for hours, so the traffic was just horrible. But they've come up with a new traffic plan, and it really hasn't been bad. It's surprising that you can have that many people in such a small area and not really have traffic issues. But I think part of it helps. You can't drive into the Greenbrier. You have to take the shuttle from the State Fair. So there's only kind of shuttle buses going back and forth there. So it helps limit the traffic a little bit, and it really hasn't been bad the past couple of years.
And that first year, you thought you were going to end up at the Pinstripe Bowl? Is that where you thought you were going?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know where I was headed. I thought maybe I'd still be on the bus the next day when the second round started. So.
All right, well, you get your dad in there. He always ran the State Fair, or was basically in charge of that thing. So I know that he probably has ideas on how to get that traffic in and out.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. I've never been so amazed at how they have traffic clear, because there's only so many roads in Greenbrier County, but somehow they found a way to keep them clear.
Yep. All right, Cam, well, enjoy your week, buddy. You got a busy one.
Yeah, definitely do, but it should definitely be a fun one. Really looking forward to it, and I think that this Masters tournament is going to be a special one too, because it really seems like Tiger's back at the top of his game now. Rory just finished second in the tournament this week. Phil's playing well, so when you have all the big names playing well, that makes for a special one.
Yeah, so give us your pick. Like I said, Rory McIlroy had not been playing real well early in the season, but at least one tournament seems to be back in gear a little bit. Obviously, Tiger's had a very nice start. What are your thoughts as to who's going to be competitive in Augusta?
I've never been a great prognosticator when it comes to Augusta, because it's such a strange tournament and anything can happen. But I've always been the one that said don't bet for Tiger, because everybody else is betting for Tiger, but he's playing so well right now and loves that course so much. It's really kind of hard to go against him at this point. But like you said, the way Rory has come on after a bad start, I think he's going to make some noise as well. And probably my dark horse pick is the guy that nobody talks about, but is the third-ranked player in the world, is Justin Rose, and he always plays well in Augusta, and he's playing great right now. So I think he might have a say in it as well.
Awesome. Hey, Cam, appreciate it, buddy.
No problem. Thanks
Okay,
for having
safe
me.
travels. Thanks so much. Cam Huffman, sports editor, Beckley Register Herald.